Hey Realtors, my name is Michael, and in today's video, I'm going to talk to you about how I've made over 15,000 cold calls in the past 3 to 4 months. And I'm just going to share with you some of the best things I've learned about cold calling so that it can maybe help you out with your phone skills and sales skills in your real estate journey. But before I get into that, you're probably wondering, like, who is this guy? But yeah, my name is Michael, and I cold call for a local realtor in my own city. I'm actively getting my license myself. So I'm not a real estate agent yet, but I've been in the trenches myself and making cold calls consistently every single day. And so the 15,000 cold calls, originally the cold calls started off as me making cold calls to realtors to offer my services to help get more leads through like cold calling and stuff. But more recently, now that I've started working with a realtor past 45 days or so, all my cold calling efforts have gone into picking up homeowners and seller leads. So it's all been directed towards getting listing-based business now. And so that's mainly what I wanted to share with you, some of these lessons that I've been learning from doing this every single day. But this is just going to be kind of a raw overview, and this is kind of off the dome, but just felt sort of obligated to make this video, and I kind of want to start making content, just sharing my lessons along the way, so maybe it can help you out. But that was a long-winded sort of introduction, I guess. But yeah, I would say the main thing with cold calling, actually the most important thing is, well, there's a lot of important things, but the most important thing I would say just off the jump is the pattern interrupt. And you're probably wondering, what the heck is a pattern interrupt? But the most important thing about a cold call is the opener. And like, you always have to have the mindset of like the other person on the line. And so you have to put yourself in the other person's perspective. And so when you get a random phone call and you like hear somebody else, your brain is basically like working off of patterns, if that makes sense. And so your brain is sort of like categorizing the person on the phone in different buckets, if that makes sense. And so the moment you sound like a salesperson, their defenses go up, the prospect's defenses go up. And so like if they get a sniff, even like literally like a sniff that you're a salesperson, then they're gonna be very guarded when you're talking to them. And so like it's hard to recover from that. And you're probably like, what is this guy talking about, like pattern interrupts and stuff, and sniff of salespeople? What I'm saying is like, I'll give a good example. Like if you open up a cold call and you're like, hey, is this John? Or you don't even say that. You say, hey John, this is Michael. How's it going today? And then right away John hears that and his defenses go up. So I know you've probably been taught to open up phone calls asking, hey, how are you doing today? But the thing is, like, if you put yourself in the prospect's perspective or put yourself in the prospect's shoes, no one just calls random people and just asks, how are you doing today? Like, do you really just like pick up the phone and ask people how you're doing today? So because of that, the prospect knows you're a salesperson right away. And so that's why the opener is the most important. So you're probably wondering, like, what is a good opener? Well, a good opener is a pattern interrupt, like I was saying a little bit earlier. And so a pattern interrupt is something that the prospect isn't really like they're a little bit sort of like caught off guard, and it keeps their curiosity high and their attention high, if that makes sense. So you call them and you say, "Hey, John," and then you just leave it at that. Because like, if someone hears their name, then their curiosity is piqued. They're like, who is this? Like, yeah, like who is this? But it also just depends on how you say it too. For example, like if you're like, "Hey, John," that's automatically gonna put you in the salesperson bucket. But if you say it curiously, you're like, "Hey, John." Sorry, just had to start another recording here. But yeah, the goal is of a pattern interrupt is to pique curiosity and keep the prospect's attention high and keep the resistance low. And so the ways I've learned to do this are, the language that you use, and also like you want to get ahead of objections, if that makes sense. So you want to lay it out all on the table, you're probably wondering, like, you probably want me to get to the point. And so what I'm saying is that, like, a good opener is basically laying it out that, like, hey, I'm a realtor, for me, I say that I work with a realtor. Do you want to have a conversation or not? And I don't say that. I don't say it like that. But what my opener actually is I say, "Hey, John," and I stop. I just say, "Hey, John," question mark. You have to have an upward inflection. "Hey, John." Leave it at that and let them respond. Because remember, when you say it like that, "Hey, John," that piques their curiosity. They're like, their brain is just for a split second. They're like, who is this? Who is this? Like, yeah. They don't know who it is. They can't. You're technically not a salesperson. You literally just ask their name. "Hey, John?" question mark. And then you say, "Hey, John, this is Michael. And I'm just going to lay it out all out here. By the way, I don't say this exactly. I'm just trying to tell you my mindset of going into this opener. But, "Hey, John, this is Michael, and I know you're probably going to hate me. I do work for a realtor, but didn't even know if it was okay to ask you a quick question." And then an upward inflection at the end. And so there's a lot to kind of unpack with the opener. There's a lot that goes into the opener. The first thing is that, like, you're laying your cards out. You're just being totally transparent. And so, like, the prospect kind of respects it because they know what kind of conversation they're getting into. And another thing is you give them the option to even have this conversation. You're saying, "Hey, I work with a realtor." For you guys, if you're a realtor, you say, "Hey, I'm a realtor. I get you're probably going to hate me," because they probably don't want to have a conversation with you, to be honest. Most people think that, like, random people want to have a conversation with them. But if it's a cold call, they don't want to just, like, talk to salespeople, because realtors are salespeople. So they really don't most of the time want to have a conversation with you. But when you use a pattern interrupt, you say, you basically lay it out on the table like, "Hey, I'm a realtor. I know you're going to hate me." And it's you're kind of acknowledging their thoughts already. So you're kind of calling it out like, "Hey, I know you're going to hate me, or you probably will hate me." So you're kind of just acknowledging where their mind's at. And then you're also, like, laying out your cards, if that makes sense. And then you're asking a permission-based question, which gives them, the prospect, perceived control. This probably sounds like advanced, or like there's a lot to this, but yeah, I didn't realize I would just basically make this video all directed towards the cold call opener. But this is the most important thing. But yeah, just to kind of just to kind of like give you what opener I use, just to, maybe it can help you out, is, hey John, sorry, excuse me. I say, hey John, question mark, like upward inflection. They're like, yeah, who's this? Or yeah, hello. Hey John, this is Michael. You're probably gonna hate me. I do work for a realtor, but just didn't know if it was okay to ask you a quick question. Like upward inflection. That's my opener. And I get a lot of people to say yes, like, sure, what's going on? Yeah, sure. Like, it's like they're pretty happy to have a conversation when you lay it all out, and they're like, sure. Like, it's hard to say no to that. It's hard to hang up on that. So basically that's the most important thing, I would say. Maybe I'll just kind of leave this video at the opener, because I know I unpacked a lot just with the cold call opener. And my goal is to start making content to help you out with your cold calling. But maybe that opener can help you have more conversations. Because just to be honest, for myself, most of the time when I open up that way, most of the time I have conversations with the prospect. And the most important thing I will end off with this, with the opener and the pattern interrupt, is the tonality and how you say it. You have to make sure to have the upward like inflections on the questions, because remember, you're trying to kind of like pique curiosity and attention, and like you just have to be really sharp. But it takes a lot of practice too. So yeah, hopefully this can help. But yeah, I know this video is kind of unplanned, but I like talking about cold calling and just sort of what's been helping me out lately. But yeah, if you enjoyed that, or if you think that could help out in your journey so far as a realtor, or you would like any more, content about this, just throw a comment. But yeah, like I said, I plan on making more content and helping you guys out with your cold calling, and just also documenting my journey. That's the main thing, is sharing the lessons that I've been learning. But yeah, if you enjoyed that, just stick around, and I should be making more content. Have a good day.